Hello, everybody who's logged into our session. I'm Dr. Mehna Chawla Singh. I'm a professor, an educator, an academic researcher, a published author. The reason I love to do these webinars for students and study abroad is because for many years, I taught first in India and then in many other countries. I have taught in Israel, and most recently, I have taught in the US for 9 years. So I taught at multiple universities in the US, and I understand the North American system really well. I've also spoken in Europe. So when I look at study abroad as an exercise and as an adventure that Indian students take, I think of a lot of topics which come to my mind because I have been on the other side. I have looked at applications. I have also seen students who are international students coming into universities in Europe and North America. So a lot of the webinars that I have done for Leverage Edu recently deal with those different aspects, either how to do a good application, how to create a good profile, how to master the application process. More recently, I have done sessions which are more timely. For example, people are now leaving, students are leaving, some of them have arrived. So I have done interviews with students who have already qualified and got admits, and we have called this the peer success stories. And so in the last few weeks, I have done 2 such. From those stories and from the experience of many other international students, I know that when we go abroad for the first time or even for a second or third time, the fact is you will be going to a university or an institution which is new and unfamiliar. More importantly, the batch of students which is going this year is going during pandemic times. Last year, the disruption was almost total. This year, you don't have a cohort that you can say, oh, what did you do when you went last year? So you are all dealing with issues for the first time. There is uncertainty with travel bans, with restrictions, with quarantine, all of that. So we know that in addition to academic challenges, there are also other kinds of stresses. I want to be mindful of this, and I feel that getting ready for the fall semester, sorry, or even for the spring intake, I think there are certain things to keep in mind, and a very important aspect of that is not just the academic requirements, which I have dealt with in a previous webinar, but also self-care. If you are going for something which is posing interesting challenges, adventure for growth, there will be unfamiliar situations. Unfamiliar situations always bring us out of the comfort zone because they're not familiar, so they're not comfortable. So what happens then? It creates anxieties, uncertainties. Sometimes we are able to deal with them very easily because it's something we have thought about. Sometimes we are not. Sometimes we need a little bit of an extra push. We need the push either from outside, from friends, family, or professional help. But sometimes all of this may not be near you. So I'm looking at the issue of self-care. That is what I thought about today. I think it's very timely because many of you are on your way to going for study abroad at this time. So my session today deals with this. It deals with the impact of challenges that you might have, the impact on you. The impact might be because your challenges in your perception are about achieving more. Of course, they're about achieving because you have spent many months on that application process. You have spent money and you're going to spend more money. So there is that pressure to achieve, to do well. Even if other people are not saying it, you're motivated. You will feel that yourself. The second thing is emotional disruption. Then there are issues of safety, health and safety. So today I have chosen a guest. With me as an educator, I have a mental health professional. This is Pankuri Shukla from Manas Foundation. I'm delighted to welcome you, Pankuri. Hi, how are you?
Hi, it's so great to be with you. I'm good.
Thank you. So we are actually going to speak about different challenges here. We will speak about 2 or 3 specifically, but we're not just going to be there to tell you that there are going to be challenges. Most of you know that there are going to be different kinds of anxieties, uncertainties, and challenges. Pankuri is here with us today to speak about self-care and actually speak about a few quick techniques. If you suddenly feel anxious or you feel 4 or 5 weeks have gone by, there's too much pressure, there are research papers, there's submissions to do, and you work yourself up into a state and you're overthinking, you're not sleeping, you're not eating well, and all that stress is pouring out. And so Pankuri is going to share with us from many, many different years of experience that she has had with people. She's going to share with us a few tips about what you can do sitting where you are. Think about that you that is stressed and de-stress yourself by that you who is not stressed. So let's figure this out. So my first question is related to performance and competitive, anxieties which are about being competitive, about doing really well. Is my performance good? I'm not getting great grades at the beginning. This is like 6 weeks into the semester, or my labs have not gone well, or whatever has happened. So the first problem that I want to pose to Pankuri is, when this situation happens to students, and we are saying these are, hardworking, good students, but it's a different system of education, and they feel very challenged sometimes by just the requirements or the timing or the deadline. So related to performance, tell us if this is a real problem and what can young people do about this?
All right. So firstly, I would like to say that this can happen to the best of us. It is absolutely normal to feel anxious sometimes, to feel stressed sometimes. It is absolutely normal that you are having a deadline and you are stressed about it. Now, what happens a lot of times is that things are in our minds and they are not as real. A lot of times it's what we make of the situation rather than what it is. So one technique that I'd like to share with you all is called visualizing. It's as simple. It doesn't need any ingredients. You just need to be sitting where you are. The work is supposed to be done in your mind. During this time, when you're visualizing, all you have to do is sit back and rehearse it in your head, that you are doing all right. Use your mental imagery. See, we all have fears, certain fear that in our mind that is pulling us back to have that reality for us. Now, let me tell you that reality is directly connected to our actions. Actions are connected to our attitude. All you have to do is sit back and imagine yourself accomplishing that task that you are fearing to do, that very task that you find challenging. For example, it can be something that you were previously struggling with and you fear you will struggle with it again. But you have to open your mind to new possibilities. See, reality is always shaped by the mind and you can easily crack it. So you just have to sit back, rehearse, and visualize.
Excellent. So I think a very good takeaway from this is really question reality. So every time we are stressed, we begin to imagine a reality which is just overwhelming. And there are alternative lenses. You know that when somebody speaks to you and they say, it's actually not like this, how about thinking of it in this way? So be that person for yourself and say, can I look at it another way? They say your glass is half full or half empty, depending on the way you look at it. So practicing that as a technique of will, you can will yourself into thinking that this is not going to defeat you, that you're going to work your way through this. So I love the way that you have said that in psychology and in helping people to de-stress, these are important ways, tools that we have within ourselves. Is this part of what is called cognitive behavioral therapy, or am I wrong in that?
Absolutely on point, ma'am. It is basically cognition. Cognition is how it's the root from where we are perceiving. So it is how perception, however you perceive reality, has the power to change it. So that's what cognitive behavioral therapy is all about. It's changing the way you think. The new ways of thinking can bring in new realities. It's all about that.
So I think this is fabulous, because all these students who have been looking forward to study abroad and either have reached or are about to go, these are all people who have imagined an alternative and a wonderful reality. They were sitting in different places, in Cuttack, in Patiala, in Bhubaneswar, in Dwarka, and just everywhere. And they were imagining themselves to be in Canada, in UK, in the US, in Australia. And so they were able to imagine an alternative reality and write those amazing applications that get people accepted. So really, this is something that works. It's not something that, of course, it can be enhanced if you have a professional near you who can help you to work your way, but it's something that you can actually start practicing yourself. So it's about changing perception. That's our first thing. So related to this, Pankuri, I want to say that, very often I would see students that a few weeks down the line, they were just, when they would get into a state about, I can't do this, or I have the wrong subject, or, I have too many things I'm worrying about from home, or my apartment is not okay, or my roommates are too noisy, and they just overthink. And sometimes I feel that, I don't know, I'm not a psychologist, but I have been a mentor of students, and I used to feel that they just wound themselves up like a tight spring. And I would say, what do we do with this? So give us a few tips as a professional about how we can separate these strands in our head. I have a colloquial way of saying that when it's like scrambled eggs inside my head, what can I do?
Yeah. It can be very much plausible, and it happens in daily life as well, because we do go through these stressful situations, and it's so important to de-stress. So one of the techniques that I'd like to share with you is, wherever you are, whatever you're worrying about, in our mind, we have a pile of thoughts, and we would like to break them into pieces, or we would like few minutes of that peace that we are thoughtless. So the best way to be in the present, where you are, not in the future, not in the past, is to utilize your senses. We don't even get to know how much they have power over us. So very simple exercise I'd like to suggest to all of you, and it would be, if you can call it the 5 senses technique. So all you have to do is, again, you don't need anything. That's the best part about our mind. You just be where you are and think of, like, you can put your hand right in front of you, put out your 5 fingers, and think of 5 things that you can see, 5 things that you can name in front of you. All right. Then think of 4 things you can touch. Like right now, 5 things I can see in front of me is a bottle, is a lamp, is a book, is a showpiece. Now that is making me very present. That is making me see what's right in front of me, right? Then name 4 things you can touch. I can touch this table, I can touch the laptop, I can touch the water bottle again, and I can touch my own clothes, right? Then after that, name 3 things that you can hear. Right now, you can hear our voice, I'm sure. Anything else that you can hear in your background. And as you do this, put your fingers down, right? Count it on your fingers. And 2 things that you can smell. We have to be in touch with our senses. That is also a reason why we have to be present. Those the senses, if you're present, if you're mindful, there's so much to absorb in your surroundings. And this is what this technique makes you do. And lastly, you have to name 1 thing that you can taste. It can be something you ate or something that you are also craving to eat, and just imagine that taste. As you do this activity, slowly you'll realize that so much is not happening in our present. It is all happening in our mind. Our surroundings are very calm and they are still, and you can feel them. And mindfulness is what makes you feel them. So be in touch with your senses and be mindful whenever you're feeling stressed.
This was fabulous. I was just so fascinated when you were talking about this. I don't know, maybe many people know about it, but I didn't know about this really simple thing, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I want to just go over this one more time. 5 is what you see. 4 is what you hear. No, say that again.
I'll do it again for you.
Okay, 5
so
is what you
5
see.
Things what you can see, 4 things what you can touch, 3 things what you can hear, right? 2 things what you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. That's all of our senses.
This is really fabulous. So, I want to pick on this word that you use, mindfulness. There's been a lot of talk about mindfulness It gets tied to yoga, it gets tied to breathing, it gets tied to all sorts of things, meditation and so on. For everybody who is, a little tired of all that extra stuff that we have been hearing through the pandemic, I think what you said was just really something simple. Because it's not about breathe like this and breathe like that and say this mantra and say that thing. This is really anytime. You just feel you're going into an exam and you feel you're blanking out, or you're about to go in for a really important interview with a professor who is going to give you a fellowship or not, or something else. Well, spend a minute doing this. What it will do is it will pull your mind away from what you think might happen. You see, we get ourselves anxious because we dread the possibility of something. You're not sure it's going to happen, but you dread the possibility and you make yourself anxious. Or you fret over something that didn't happen. At that time, it's also a good idea to think of all the success we've had. We don't do that. We always get stuck on thinking about what did not happen. So don't do that. So get into the present, and that will make you think more about what you can do. So this was really, really interesting. I'm sure everybody who's logged in to listen to things about study abroad realizes that this is a really important takeaway, something that they can share with their friends, even if they're not studying abroad. So I'm going to think about one other issue or one other challenge that I used to see a student facing, and many students will face that, which is dislocation. Now, it doesn't matter if you have traveled abroad. Sorry. It doesn't even matter that you have lived away from home, because that means you have dealt with separation, you've been away from family, you're independent, you know how to run your money, maybe all of that. But you can feel disrupted because you are disrupted. You're going into another country, another setup. It might be a different language, a different system, different food. All of that destabilizes us emotionally. There are times that you'll be tired, and when you're tired, it's easy to feel isolated. Even people who are otherwise healthy and strong in their minds might feel social isolation, might feel cultural isolations. And I've actually been hearing about some of these things when students who have just left for study abroad are having to do quarantine in hotel rooms where they have arrived. This is happening in the UK, it's happening in Hong Kong. I recently interviewed a couple of students who spoke about how when they went from here, they were with 4 other friends, and then they were all separated and they're in individual small hotel rooms for 10 days. The meals are put outside. So I want to come back to the idea of isolation. So tell us what we can do when we begin to feel that we are just, descending into this horrible feeling of I'm isolated, not physically isolated, but emotionally feeling a little cut off. The phone is not there, or the battery is not charged, or the network is not good, so I can't chat with my friends or whatever. So how do I deal with social, cultural, other isolation? Over to you.
Yeah. So it is a very felt fear, and I feel that it is valid. In a situation like this, it is very important that we have our locus of control to be internal, not external. Let's not give the power away. Wherever you are, it's home. The world is inside you more than outside you, right? So shift your locus of control, which you are giving away, to the external reality, which is, oh, you're feeling isolated. Oh, I have nobody. Oh, I'm away from home. No, park those thoughts somewhere else. Tell yourself an affirmation. Tell yourself, I am myself. The world is here. I am safe. Sometimes you can journal it. When you write it, it actually, like, our brain works a lot on subliminal messaging. That's why whatever you see outside, you actually imbibe it. So why not give ourselves some messaging that we want to imbibe? So you can journal it, say it in your mind, say it whenever you need it, that I am myself, the world is here within me, and I'm safe. So this is my advice to all the students who might feel this.
Wonderful. I'm going to ask you to repeat one more time something that you said, which was so wonderfully phrased, because it just clicked, and I said to myself, this is what we need to say. Shift the locus. And I want you to say that again.
Yeah, shift the locus from external reality to your inner world.
Okay, so this is not just about study abroad. It's not just for young people. It's for everybody, because we all tend to get stuck on the outside world. How am I being judged? How am I being perceived? What did I do to be able to get validation? And so that also winds us up, and it creates mental health issues. Mental health is not something that you need therapy for always. Just like physically, sometimes we are healthy and sometimes our immunity is low. So I want to say similarly, the mind is strong when it's happy, when it's relaxed, when it's contented, and it's more productive. It's more creative. It can do good critical thinking. However, when the mind is tired, it's exhausted, it's anxious, that is bad mental health. And so mental health should not be seen as something which is about needing drugs or needing medication or needing other kinds of treatment. But just like physical health can be gently not so good, mental health can also be gently not so good. And when it is gently not so good, you can do these gentle things and make sure that it doesn't get any worse. And so I love this idea that we get more stressed because we shift the locus of our understanding outside of ourselves. Bring it in within yourself. Wherever you are, if you are already aspiring to achieve so many things, you have so much going for you. There is no reason for you to question your self-worth. So I love that last tip as well. I want to say something. I want Pankhuri to tell us something very quickly about high anxiety moments. So I want to say, suppose we've got the visa and our tickets, something happens with the tickets and my classes are about to start, or I arrive late, and there are all those anxieties, or I'm at the airport and the arrangements break down, nobody comes to pick me up, or I can't find that document or that paper that I need to show to the immigration. It could be many little things like this. So when there is quickly a high anxiety moment, I'm at an airport, I'm carrying bags, different things can happen. What can I do? Is there something about a quick thing I can do to just break that panic?
Yes. So all of these suggestions that I had given until now are for, they are in a moment where you can still think straight, when you can sit down, when you can still, convince your mind, you can follow these techniques. But there are times when our mind is not listening to us, right? There are these times when we feel helpless, that it's taking power over us and it's affecting us physically too. You might notice a racing heartbeat, you're sweating, you're moving your legs, you're biting your nails. These are all signs of anxiety, right? Sometimes our mental state materializes into a physical one and we feel it in our body. In these times, you actually need a physical solution to the physical problem. So as odd as it might sound, but bite into a lemon. Bite into a lemon because it is so sour that it will bring you back to present. And you know what happens, that saying that when life gives you lemon, you make a lemonade? That is quite the reason behind this whole technique, wherein you actually give yourself a taste of reality. And this reality is the very present reality where there are possibilities. So you will think in a problem-solving manner, you will be more logical. You would not be thinking of the worst case scenario, but when you are biting into a lemon, just remember that you will be thinking of how to solve this problem. So that is one suggestion that I would
Pankhuri, suppose I'm at the airport. I have this long flight to Canada. I have to reach the university. I have a backpack, but I have no lemons in that. What am I going to do?
All right. Then there is a breathing technique that you can do, right? Okay. So you can breathe in for 4 seconds. And you can also all you have to do is you have to actually, there is another technique I would like to suggest apart from the breathing one, which is coming to my mind. It is just better. It is called thought stop. All right. You imagine a red dot in front of you, and this panic is a lot to bear with. So just imagine a bindi, like a dot, a ball, anything that you feel like in your mind, close it, breathe in and breathe out, and just concentrate on that dot and let it stop your thoughts. And when our thoughts stop, when we are more in our current reality, we will be able to think about solutions and we will be able to cope with it. It is very important for us to be in the present, for our mind to work properly, for us to cope with a situation that is anxious. And that is why we will get better at it, right? When
Excellent.
we stop our thoughts, whichever are the negative ones.
Great. So the breathing bit is really important, is find a little spot that you can concentrate on and take deep, slow breaths inside and hold them and exhale.
So I'll just
slowly.
repeat it. While you're looking at that spot, just count also 4 seconds in, breathe, and 4 seconds out. 4 seconds in and 4 seconds out. That's all.
And when you do that 3 times, you will be in the present. You'll have to be. You know,
Yes.
I just thinking about it, I was imagining an airport and somebody getting stressed. They can't find the documents. You know what? There's always icy cold water. Go and get the water, splash your face. Splash your face with icy water or drink water, and you will suddenly calm down because it will shake your senses a little bit. So I love this bit about when you said, use a calming phrase. And I want to say that, you know, that actually has been found in many experiments to be something that helps people to get more hope. And so phrases of affirmation, when you think positive and you repeat something that's positive, your mind begins to concentrate on that as opposed to concentrating on the dreads that are around. And you know, you were speaking about a particular phrase, and I thought to myself, I would say, "Que sera sera," what will be, will be. That I have to just keep moving. I don't have control over what will be, but if I keep moving along, the outcomes will probably be better than if I get paralyzed with fear. So, quick takeaways. We have spoken here today about different kinds of anxiety levels. And anxiety levels, as we realize, these are not just for study abroad, they can happen to any of us. So you have these techniques, and this was such a fun session also for me, because I think there are real takeaways here. I will repeat here, Pankuri Shukla works for the Manas Foundation. You can find her on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn, Meena Chawla Singh. And I want to say a big thank you, Pankuri. I hope you enjoyed our conversation as much as I did.
Absolutely. It was a great time. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And one last parting shot to everybody. We use the word fear. And I want to say F-E-A-R. It should be an acronym for something else. And I'm going to say F and E for face everything. But A and R always rise. So remember F-E-A-R, face everything, but always rise. So all of you young professionals, students who are leaving for study abroad or on your path to achieve more, we wish you all the very best. Come back to us on the Leverage Edu channel. I want to say the Leverage Edu is a full stack university admissions service with a special focus on study abroad. We help you through the entire process from the university you dream about to the application process to setting the goals for you until you reach the university that you have dreamed of. If you are thinking of the finances, we want to say that Leverage Edu has launched a huge scholarship fund. So DM us, call us, find us on all the social media handles, and check if you're eligible for the financing as well. We look forward to seeing you. There's a 30-minute free counseling session at Leverage Edu where a counselor will speak to you for free. And then you can decide and join us later. Thank you, Pankuri. Thank you, everybody who's watching.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.